September 2nd, Thursday edition of the Carolina Weather Video. I'm meteorologist Matthew East here with you, and going to spend a lot of time talking about the tropics first, and then a big-time weather change coming for our area over the Labor Day weekend here in a couple of days. So a lot to talk about in today's video. I won't delay any further. Let's get right into it. There is the satellite presentation of Hurricane Earl. Earl strengthened overnight. And as of the 5 a.m. advisory, the latest advisory when I'm cutting this video, Earl, a very healthy Category 4 hurricane with 145 mile per hour sustained winds, and the pressure was down at 928 millibars. Now, the pressure, obviously, that's very low. The pressure, one of the main driving forces with storm surge, and with the pressure that low, Earl undoubtedly building up a lot of storm surge. Now, the shape of the continental shelf there off the Atlantic coast is not the same as off the Gulf Coast, so storm surge, you don't get those tremendously huge storm surge values, generally speaking, when you get into the Carolinas that you can see sometimes in the northern Gulf Coast, just simply due to the shape of the ocean floor. But storm surge is going to be an issue, certainly, especially in the Outer Banks, as this continues to move ashore. Now, there has been some degradation with the northern half of Earl, it looks like, over the past several hours, but I do think there'll be a little bit of weakening of Earl as we go through the day today, but I still fully expect Earl to be a major hurricane as it has its brush with the Outer Banks. That is the official National Hurricane Center forecast. The center of Earl passing probably just east, if not right over the Outer Banks late tonight. Looks like the main window of opportunity, we'll say, for the crossage of, or the passage of the center of Earl around the Outer Banks will be 2 a.m. to maybe 8 or 9 a.m. in the morning on Friday morning. A couple of the models. This is the GFDL, and it still has Earl as it's making its closest pass to the Outer Banks as a very powerful hurricane with 939 millibars of pressure, 128 knot, 35 meter winds. Hurricane Wharf, not quite as intense, but still a 947 pressure. Again, I think the general idea here is Earl will still be a major hurricane as it plows through. All right, so let's talk about what this means for the Outer Banks. You're going to have rain and wind moving in. The heaviest period of rain and wind will be late tonight into early Friday, and I do think there'll be several hours of hurricane force sustained winds there in the Outer Banks. Surf will be a problem. We're talking 10 to 15, maybe some 20-foot seas close to shore. Storm surge on the order of it, at least depending on where we're talking about the Outer Banks, probably at least a 3 to 5 foot storm surge, and maybe more than that, depending on the exact track that the center of Earl takes. So there's going to be beach erosion problems. Anybody in the Outer Banks certainly heed any of the evacuation orders put out by the local authorities there as we go through the course of the day today. There's a lot of issues with Highway 12, congestion on Highway 12 yesterday. And like I saw some other media outlets mentioning, probably a good idea just to scoot over on Highway 64 toward I-95 instead of trying to take the length of Highway 12, if that's an option for you. So at any rate, that's the issue for the Outer Banks. If you're heading to the Outer Banks for the Labor Day weekend, the weather Saturday, Sunday, Monday just looks marvelous. There'll be some lingering rip current issues. But the problem is today through Friday. The weather will be fine as we get into the Labor Day weekend itself, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. All right, for the interior Carolinas, Charlotte, the Triad, even Raleigh, we're talking a few clouds, but the rain will stay east of us. It'll be a little breezy, maybe some 15 to 20 mile per hour winds by late today and tonight, but not a big deal. Elsewhere in the tropics, Fiona looking pitiful this morning. Fiona really struggling as it's battling some hostile winds. You can see the bottom part of Earl and the northern part of the upper part of this picture. There's the spaghetti plot for Fiona. It looks like Fiona will get drawn to the north. Could strengthen as we get toward, say, the 48 to a 72-hour window, but it looks like this is going to head north and not affect the United States, but it could be fairly close to Bermuda. There's the official National Hurricane Center track. And you do know that tropical storm watch is up for Bermuda. And finally, Gaston. Gaston also looking fairly paltry this morning, but this system looks like it's going to take the farther south track and maybe even getting into the Caribbean Sea. If not that, it'll be fairly close to the northern Caribbean islands here. And Gaston's slowing down. That's the Hurricane Center forecast. And we're talking this still being east of the islands all the way out to next Tuesday. So Gaston's going to be a slow mover now. And there is a look at the intensity charts, and all the models generally indicating some slow strengthening of Gaston. In fact, some models taking this up to major hurricane status several days from now. So Gaston will be a weather story for a while, as it looks like it'll take a farther south track, and it'll be a slow mover. A couple of the models here with Gaston. This is the Canadian model, and here is Gaston, and this is the system that the Canadian actually develops behind it. The European also indicating Gaston east of the Caribbean islands at 144 hours. And finally, the Hurricane Wharf, same deal. So we'll be talking about Gaston for a while. GFS, upper air chart for today. There's Earl. Here's the trough diving into the northern plains. If that trough were not diving in, Earl would just simply plow directly into the Carolina coast. So I think everybody, even including the Outer Banks, can be thankful this trough is here. It's just going to turn that off to the north and east. Let me go out here to the weekend. There's that nice trough diving in that'll bring our cooler temperatures. Some ridging develops back in toward the middle part of next week, so it gets hot again, but then another cool down toward the end of next week. So let's quickly go through the modeling. I know this video is kind of dragging on. I'll get right to it. Today's going to be hot and dry for the interior Carolinas. Of course, the rain moving into the coast. We'll be talking highs in the Piedmont, lower side of the 90s today, still very low humidity. We squeeze in another, well, let me go through the charts for Earl. This is 2 a.m. There goes Earl, scraping close to the Outer Banks. 8 a.m., beginning to pull away. And as soon as 2 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, the center of Earl way up interacting with parts of southern New England. Friday around here is going to be a hot day in the Piedmont. We're talking highs well up into the 90s, but here comes the big change. That cold front passes through in dry fashion by tomorrow evening, and Saturday just looks marvelous. Low to mid 80s for highs. Sunday, the same, sunshine, low to mid 80s for highs, and we're talking lows Sunday morning and Monday morning in the 50s in many Piedmont spots, some 40s for mountain lows. Monday still looks terrific, a little warmer, mid to upper 80s for highs, and then by Tuesday and Wednesday the warmth will build, probably close to 90 on Tuesday and then up into the 90s by Wednesday, and probably Thursday before we see that next cool down. And by the way, just for giggles, I showed you this. This is where the GFS winds up putting Gaston all the way out on the 15th of September, as it actually moves into the Caribbean and then sharply recurves it northward east of the coast. Again, that's kind of all conjecture at this point. All right, that is it for this Thursday edition of the Carolina Weather Video. I know it's a little long-winded, but thanks for sticking with me. Everyone have a great day, and remember, around-the-clock updates, we're going to keep you completely up-to-date on Hurricane Earl on News 14 Carolina. Not only the weather department, the news department in full swing here covering Earl for you, and we'll have you completely up-to-date. All right, that's it for today's edition. Have a great Thursday, and God bless.